Insurance fraud is a crime, and TDI has a team of highly trained investigators tracking down insurance criminals. We'll talk to one of them on this Fraud Files edition of the Texas Insurance Podcast. Hi, I'm Misty Hinote. Today we're talking with Sergeant John Holman with TDI's Fraud Unit about how they investigate insurance fraud and everything else that being a fraud officer entails. If you find this information useful, please like and subscribe to the Texas Insurance Podcast and share it with your friends and family. Hello, John. Thanks for joining us today. I'm glad you could be here with us.
No problem.
All right, so let's talk about the Fraud Unit. What does the Fraud Unit at TDI do?
The Fraud Unit at TDI, what we do is we get cases that are filed through insurance agents, through consumers, and we get those in, we look at them, and from that point we determine what cases that we can be worked in, what cases need more information, can be referred to someplace else.
So let's talk about the reporting part of fraud. Who reports? You talked a little bit about consumers, but who reports insurance fraud to TDI, and how does that get to TDI?
We get reports from insurance companies, from the investigators that the insurance companies have themselves. They'll realize something's going on, and then they will do their internal investigations, and then they turn it over to us. We get calls from doctors' offices, hospitals, and consumers, and they go, hey, I think I'm being ripped off, or I've purchased insurance and something happened and I went to go collect on the insurance and it turns out I don't have any. And what do I do? And we can open cases. They go to our supervisors who do our intake. First it goes through intake, then it goes to supervisors, and then they assign the cases that we can work up.
So the consumers you were talking about, maybe they notice something is a little iffy. Is that like if they pay a premium to an agent and then the agent doesn't give that to a company? Is that insurance fraud?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So currently, me personally, I'm working some cases where some agents would go out and they'd collect payments from their clients and go, here's your copy of your insurance that you need for the next year. And then they'd take the money, and then next year comes up, hey, here's your renewal. And they'd go, okay, and they'd write the check. And next year comes up, hey, here's your renewal. And then all of a sudden something happens and they're like, okay, let me contact my insurance company. And they contact the actual organization themselves, and the organization goes, we don't have any insurance. You don't have any insurance with us. I'm like, yeah, I'm paying my premiums. No, you don't. And so then, that's a case against the insurance agent.
Oh, that's awful. I hate to hear that. What about the companies? You were saying that, so maybe they get a bill from a doctor and it goes through the process and maybe they notice something is a little iffy. Is that kind of how insurance companies notice insurance fraud, or what's an example of that, I guess?
A big one that I've been working, or that we are working, is false claims. Okay. People go out and they'll be employed somewhere and they'll get the accidental injury insurance, and the next thing you know is they'll be reporting, hey, I broke my wrist today, and they'll turn in some paperwork and they get paid X amount of dollars. A month later, hey, I broke my other wrist. And then they'll turn in some paperwork and get paid X amount of dollars. And after about 6, 7, 15, 20 cases, the insurance company goes, this isn't right. Sometimes they'll catch it quicker. Sometimes it gets up there pretty high before they start realizing it, because there's a lot of people involved. It's not always just one agent at the insurance company. So, some of these large companies, they may never talk to the same person, especially when everything's done on the line.
Right.
And so they'll collect a large sum of money before the insurance company goes, this isn't right. And then they start looking into it, and then they get their information and they forward it over to us.
Right. So someone's going to notice. Don't think you can get away with this stuff.
Eventually.
Too long. Right. Eventually. Okay. So we talked about some types of fraud. What are some of the most common? Are there some types we haven't talked about, the most common types of fraud?
So far in 2025, we've had over 20,000 cases filed, and of that, 55% automotive insurance, some type of fraud with automotive insurance, whether they are paying for a coverage that doesn't exist from, a company like somebody who's pretending to be a broker, or they're paying for stuff and then they're not getting the right attachments put into it. The 20% for homeowners property, and 6% for health insurance. That's kind of a breakdown. And then we have the rest is just miscellaneous different kinds that are out there.
Okay, so auto insurance is number one because almost everyone has a car and we're driving around and getting in accidents and filing claims. And I guess a lot can happen, huh?
And you are required to have insurance.
That's true, right? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have to have it in order to be able to purchase the car. So
Right.
sometimes people are making fake insurance documents, then going down and purchasing a car and going, here's my insurance.
Ah,
And so they get it, they finance it, and then it turns out the insurance was not good.
okay. Okay. So we talked about types of fraud. So you get those fraud reports to the TDI fraud unit, and then what happens? You're an investigator, right? What do you do from there?
So once a case has been deemed and assigned to an investigator, we get it, we review it, we look at all the information we have, and then from that point, if it's referred from an insurance company, we contact whoever sent it to us and go, hey, we need all the information to reference this that you have. If it's something involving bank records or anything along those lines, then we send out subpoenas to the banks. And what we do is we just like any other investigation, we just start at the beginning. We look at what was alleged and we start collecting the information. From that point, we determine has there been a violation of state law? Is there a violation of federal law? And then can we prove who did it? Or can we not prove who did it? And we just have to close the case. If we can prove who did it, then we work our case up. We put it all together. We then, of course, we send it up to our chain. It gets approved, and then we submit it to local district attorney wherever it occurred at.
So y'all interviewing victims and suspects? Do y'all go out in the field and do boots on the ground kind of work, or how does that happen?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of the interviews we like to do in person, because if I call you up on the phone and you're my victim, or victim's a little bit easier, but if you're my suspect and I call on the phone, I go, hey, I want to talk to Billy Bob. And they go, oh, yeah, I'm Billy Bob. How do I know who I'm talking to?
Okay, right.
And then also, how do they know who they're talking to? So a lot of the interviews we do in person, because when we're dealing with suspects, we want to be able to identify them, make sure they understand their rights, make sure they understand the whole thing of what we're doing for, and then they either talk to us or they don't. And then with victims, especially if we get a lot of information where the victim doesn't know they've been victimized, like if we get the information from an insurance company where all these policies were written on people who had no clue they had the policy.
Right. And all this has to hold up in court, right? So
Oh, yes.
I guess that helps too, that you have, all the back and forth in person.
Yes,
So,
especially with suspects, because
right.
then we can sit there and I can say 100%, I've looked at your identification, I've compared the identification with the person before me, you've read your Miranda warning rights, you've initialed next to them, you said you understand them, and I ought to go roll video record all the interviews. And then at that point, they talk to us or they don't. And if they talk to us, great, it's recorded, we put it in there, and then when they change it later, we're like, well, here's what you said now, here's what you say later, and then it's up for courts to make a decision what they want to do with that.
Okay. And how long does this investigation process take from start to when you hand it over?
Some investigations can be pretty fast if we get all the information initially. It's just verifying everything and then making sure that we talk to everybody involved. And then some of those can go within a short period of time. Others can take quite a long time, especially when you're having to locate victims all over the state of Texas, when you're having to get subpoenas, depending on how many subpoenas you have to get, and then all the records you get, how many years of records you're looking at. And each case is a little bit different.
Okay.
Some can be pretty quick, within a few months, and others can take a year or more.
Okay. Yeah, it depends on how involved they are, right? How many victims, how many suspects, how many documents, and okay. And who do you have in the fraud unit helping you with this? I heard there's a forensic accountant.
Yes, we have a forensic accountant. She's actually here in Austin. She has other analysts that work with her, and we can get them the information, and they can take it and put it in format so we can understand. An example of that is we have a company who's writing a lot of checks for different things to different people. Some are legit, some are not. They have programs that they can take all those paper checks or the digital checks that are provided, and they can put it into spreadsheets. With just simple input and scan it in spreadsheets, and so then we can look at the data in the ways that we need to, and show trends or pick out certain names, and then that makes it a lot easier than if I have 5,000 checks going through each check and going, okay, here's who this is, here who that is.
Right.
So we have really good assistance with all of that.
Yeah, and that probably cuts down on a lot of your time too, so you can be working on other things. So
It does.
yeah. Okay. So what happens next with the fraud investigation? You say after you're kind of wrapping up your investigation, you hand it to your supervisor to look at, and then what happens with the investigation?
So once the supervisor reviews it and signs off on it, then we are advised that the case is ready to go, and then we contact whichever district attorney it occurred in, and then we take the case up there. They either get it electronically, and then we send a hard copy, or we go meet with them, and at which time we sit down and we discuss the case, and we go, here's what we got, and they go, I'll take the case or I won't take the case.
And then we have prosecutors, right? We have fraud unit prosecutors that are actually prosecuting these cases in those counties?
Yes. So we have TDI embedded prosecutors in Bexar County, Dallas County, Harris County, and Tarrant County.
And do the investigators, do you have to testify in court if these go to court?
Yes, we do.
Okay. What's that like?
It's pretty much like what we're doing here right now.
A little nerve-wracking.
It's just like anything else that we testify in. We get notice of the court date, and we show up, and then we wait around, and then eventually we'll get called up, and we sit there and we answer any questions that are proposed. We could be called to grand jury, or we could be called to court.
So the perpetrators of the insurance fraud, once they're in court and they're found guilty, what kind of punishments can they get for committing insurance fraud?
Punishments can range from everything from a misdemeanor up to a felony. They can be fined. They can be fined and get put in jail. They can be put in prison, depends on if it's a felony or a misdemeanor. Or they can be given probation over a period of time. They can also be ordered to pay restitution to the victims and whatever the court deems as an amount. And all of that can be dealt with through either if they go to court and it goes through trial and they're found guilty, or in a plea bargain that they do, to where instead of going to court, the prosecutors go, hey, here's what we have, here's what we're going to do, here's what we'll offer you, and what would you like to do? And they go, I'm innocent, let's go to court, and we go to trial. Or they'll go, okay, I'll take that deal. Or they might even counteract and they go back and forth and eventually agree upon some type of a deal with restitution or time or probation.
Right, because these are serious offenses. This is insurance fraud. It's not to be taken lightly, right?
Yes.
So you mentioned restitution. How much did we get back last year?
Last year, we were instrumental between the courts doing what they did in over $12 million in restitution to victims.
Okay, and how does that work? How do the victims get that money?
Once the suspects are convicted or they agree to do any type of restitution, then the monies are paid to the courts, and the courts divvy it out to whoever, however much they deem as necessary.
So why is it important that we stop insurance fraud?
That's a great question. It's something that affects everybody. Whether you've ever been a victim of insurance fraud or somebody you know has been a victim of insurance fraud, what it does affect you is, like we said earlier, you have to have car insurance, right?
Right.
You have to have insurance on your house, right?
Right.
Well, those premiums are so high because the insurance companies are paying out so much money on fraudulent claims that they have to be able to recoup that. Okay. And so, the more fraud that's out there, the more that we're paying.
So if people hear about insurance fraud, how do they report it?
Well, TDI has both a website and a hotline. Okay. The phone number is 800-252-3439. And the website is tdi.texas.gov, and they can self-report through that.
So what kind of training do y'all need?
Majority of all of our investigators are retired from one law enforcement aspect or another, whether it be federal. I personally came from Killeen Police Department, where I was a detective. We investigate, so we have to learn how to be an investigator, gather facts, talk to people, and present the information.
And y'all provide training to other organizations too, right? What does that look like?
Yes, we are a certified TCOL provider for education. We teach, we do classes. This year, we've done a firearms instructor course, but we also put on insurance courses where we go out to local departments that ask for us, and we come in there and we put a 4 to 6 hour course on where we teach them what are we looking for, or what can they look for insurance fraud, and it teaches them aspects of it, what kind of information they need to gather, resources they can use, and how to put cases together for local district attorneys.
Okay, so do you travel? Do you go to those cities, or do they come here to Austin?
We do both.
Okay. And how does that get started? How do they hear about y'all and say, hey, I want TDI to come give me some information? How does that get started?
A lot of it is done word of mouth.
Okay.
One organization will have us out there, and then they'll put out a flyer, and other organizations around them will come, and then they'll be like, hey, we want you to come see us. Another way we do it is after disasters and stuff. Sometimes we go out and we provide literature to the departments. We provide it to the homeowners and businesses. And then when we talk to departments, we always tell them, hey, we also have this education that we come out here and put this class on. And we have different instructors we have will go out and our sergeants, our investigators will go out and they will conduct the class at local departments. Not only do we also teach for other classes, but we do all of our own in-house education for our officers because we're police officers. We have to do continuing education each year. So we do that. TDI has a training system called a Milo. And basically what it is you've seen them on TV where it's kind of like virtual reality where you're watching something on a screen, but instead of wearing a headset, we have a large screen, we see it, and then we interact with whatever the computer program is and makes judgment trainings. Do we use force, not use force? Can we talk them down? And then, of course, somebody's over on the backside who's running the simulation. It gives us all kinds of different stressors, different situational things so that we can use our experience and our knowledge and try to de-escalate. And it's a great training situation because we can do it in a controlled environment and they can change it up so it's not always the same. And so that allows us to be able to respond better. It makes us better officers.
So why is it important that fraud investigators have this active trainer simulation?
It's just one of the tools that we have for education. We are licensed police officers, and so with that, we have to maintain the standards of any other police officer that's out there. We, like you said earlier, do we do any of these talks in person? Yes, we go out and we meet with our suspects, and so we're police officers. We're out there. We have to deal with both the good people and the bad people. And if we're out there and somebody decides to do something criminally while we're talking with them, we have to be able to respond. And so by keeping up on our skills and our training, then that allows us to be just like any other police officer and do our duty and do what we have to do and keep ourselves safe and keep the public safe.
That's what I was just about to say. We want to make sure that y'all are safe and trained and ready to do your job. So.
Yes, and we're out there to protect the public also. We don't patrol the streets like a regular duty police officer, but when we go out there, we are a licensed police officer, and we do what we have to do. We do what's required by us by law, and we take care of business and keep everybody safe.
And like you said, stopping insurance fraud that impacts all Texans, so that's a great job. Well, thank you for everything that you do. Thanks for doing this for us and for all the Texans. And thanks for being here today and joining us. We really appreciate it.
Not a problem. My pleasure. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Now that you know what a fraud investigator does, watch this video to see how we prosecute fraudsters once we catch them. And if you want to report fraud, or you just have some insurance questions, you can call our helpline or visit our website. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.